There is a specific moment in a long marriage when a woman becomes dangerous, not loud dangerous, not angry dangerous, silent dangerous. And most men never see it coming because the moment it happens, she looks for the first time in years like everything is finally okay. I want to tell you about a woman named Claire. Claire is 52 years old. She was married for 24 years to a man she had loved genuinely and chosen deliberately. And for 16 of those 24 years, she asked for the same things, not dramatic things, not unreasonable things. She asked to be heard when she spoke. She asked for small gestures that said, "I see you." She asked him to show up differently, not in big ways, but in the steady, quiet, daily ways that tell a person they matter. She asked in conversation. She asked in letters she wrote and sometimes never gave him. She asked in arguments that left her exhausted at midnight. She asked in tears she cried in the car on the way home from date nights that had stopped being dates and had quietly become appointments. And then one morning she stopped asking, "My name is Patricia Hayes. Welcome to Patricia's Porch." What I am about to describe has a name in the therapeutic community. It is called the walk-away wife syndrome. And it is one of the most misunderstood dynamics in long-term marriage because it looks from the outside exactly like healing, and it is not healing at all. Here is how it works. A woman enters a long relationship full of hope and genuine love. But over time, months, then years, then a decade, she begins to notice a gap. Not a dramatic gap, a quiet one. The gap between what she needs in order to feel seen and known and chosen and what is actually being offered to her. She begins to speak about this gap carefully at first, then with more urgency, then with tears. She asks for change. She explains what she needs in as many ways as she can find the language for. She has the same conversation in different forms, in different rooms, at different points on the calendar, over years that pile up without resolution, and then something shifts. She stops. Not because the problem has been resolved, not because she has decided she does not need those things anymore, but because she has, after years of asking and not truly being heard, made a private, quiet, internal decision. The decision is this: she is going to leave. She has not necessarily set a date. She has not necessarily found somewhere to go, but she has somewhere in the deep and private parts of herself given up on the marriage changing and begun the quiet, unhurried work of preparing to exit it. And here is the part that men almost never understand until it is too late. When she stops asking, she becomes pleasant. She becomes calm. She stops arguing. She stops crying. She stops bringing up the things that used to create conflict between them. She is warmer than she has been in years, and easier to be around, and less reactive to the small daily disappointments. And he, relieved and perhaps slightly confused by the change, assumes that something finally worked. He thinks she has calmed down. She has let it go. We are finally past it. He is not past it. She is past him. The first cost is the long season before the silence. It matters to understand this season because the silence only makes sense in the context of what came before it. For most women in this situation, the years before the silence are characterized by increasing effort. She is trying, she is asking, she is attempting to communicate something she knows is real and important, and she is doing it in every way she knows how. She adjusts her tone. She finds new language. She chooses the right moment when they are both calm and rested. She writes things down instead of saying them out loud, because saying them out loud has gone badly before. She reads books about communication and brings the insights back into the relationship and tries again. This is not the behavior of a woman who has given up. This is the behavior of a woman who still believes the relationship is capable of change. And this distinction is crucial because the very effort that looks from the outside like difficulty, the conversations, the tears, the arguments, is in reality the sign of investment. It is the sign that she still cares enough to keep trying. Claire told me she used to keep a kind of mental count of the conversations, not because she was building a case against him, but because she needed to reassure herself that she was not imagining things. She had said the same essential thing in various forms, more than 40 times over 8 years. Not 40 arguments, 40 attempts at connection, 40 attempts to close the gap between them. She said, I stopped counting at 40 because by then I knew what? That he was not going to change. Not because he was a cruel man, he was not, but because he did not believe the problem was real in the way she was describing it. Every time she raised it, his response, gentle, well-meaning, completely unconscious, was to wait for it to pass, to offer a small gesture of reconciliation and assume that had dealt with it, to absorb her distress without ever really taking it in. He thought she was being emotional. She was trying to save the marriage. The second cost is the moment of decision itself. The moment a woman decides to leave is not always dramatic. For some women, it is a single incident, a moment so final that everything after it is just logistics. But for many women, particularly women who have been in long marriages, women over 40, women who have tried as hard as Claire tried, the moment of decision is not a moment at all. It is a gradual arrival, a slow, quiet knowing that accumulates, like water behind a dam, until one day the dam simply holds no more water. Claire said she knew on an ordinary Wednesday, not because anything unusual happened. She came home from work. She made dinner. He sat at the kitchen table and talked to her about something she cannot even remember what now, and she listened, and she responded, and she felt quite calmly nothing. Not anger, not sadness, not love, nothing at all. And she thought, that is it then. She did not tell him. She cleared the table and washed the dishes and went to bed beside him. And in the morning, she got up and called a financial advisor she had found privately because she had begun some months before to think about the practical questions of what a life would look like on her own. She did not rush. She had 4 months of quiet preparation. She looked at her pension. She looked at the equity in the house. She spoke to a solicitor about her options. She had lunch with a friend who had gone through a divorce 3 years earlier and asked the question she had been holding inside herself. She was not cold. She was not strategic in a calculated or hostile way. She had simply, quietly, and privately turned her energy away from the marriage and toward her own future. And the entire time, he thought they were fine. The third cost is that her silence will look to him exactly like peace. This is perhaps the most painful part of what I am going to tell you. The reason the walkaway wife syndrome is so devastating to the man it leaves behind is that the period of her detachment, the months she is quietly preparing to leave, is often described by him afterwards as the best period of their marriage. He remembers it as a time when things were finally good, when she had stopped being difficult. When the tension lifted, he may have felt relieved. He may have felt hopeful. He may have thought, however briefly, that the hard years were finally behind them. and she was packing internally the whole time. I am not telling you this to be cruel to the men in these situations. Many of them are genuinely shocked. Many of them come into therapy in the aftermath of a divorce announcement and say, with complete sincerity, I had no idea. I thought we were happy. I thought she had finally found her peace. She had found her peace, just not the peace he was imagining. Her peace was the peace of a woman who has made a decision, who is no longer fighting a battle she has been quietly losing for years, who has, for the first time in a very long time, genuine clarity about the direction of her own life. That kind of peace is real. It is not performed. It is not deceptive. Exactly, she has not chosen to appear happy in order to mislead him. She is genuinely calmer. The reason she is calmer is that she has stopped hoping for something that was not coming, and there is an enormous quiet release in that. But he does not know what the peace is made of, and she does not, at that point, have the will left to explain it to him. The fourth cost is that she will not tell him what is happening, and she will carry the weight of that silence alone. You might wonder why she doesn't tell him, why at the moment she makes her decision, she does not sit him down and say plainly, I have reached my limit. This is the end. Some women do, but many don't. And the reason they don't is not deceptive at its core. It is rather a form of exhaustion. She has already had that conversation. She has had it 40 times. She has sat him down and said, I am struggling. I need something to change. I am not sure how much longer I can do this. She has used every version of those words that she has access to. She has cried them and argued them and whispered them and written them down and said them calmly over dinner, and she has not been heard. And so when the decision finally comes, she does not believe that one more version of that conversation will produce a different result. She has run out of versions. She has run out of the particular kind of hope that is required to keep trying to reach someone who has not, after everything, been reached. Claire said to me, I knew that if I told him I was leaving, he would promise to change. And I knew he meant the promise. And I knew that the promise would last exactly as long as it needed to, and then things would drift back, and in 8 months I would be exactly where I was, but 8 months older, and 8 months more exhausted, and 8 months further from the life I still had time to build. So she said nothing. She prepared. And when she was ready, legally, financially, emotionally, she told him, not as an ambush, not with anger, quietly over a cup of tea on a Sunday morning, the same way she had always tried to talk to him. He was devastated. He said he had no idea. He asked her when this had happened. She told him it had been happening for years. He simply hadn't been listening. The fifth cost, and this is the one I most want you to hear, is what this syndrome tells us about what was true all along. I want to be careful here, because I am not telling you this story to make you distrust the quiet periods in your own relationship. I am not saying that every time a woman becomes calmer, she is secretly leaving. That would be both unfair and untrue. What I am saying is this. The walk-away wife syndrome does not begin with silence. It begins with noise, the noise of a woman trying for years to be heard. And the silence, when it finally comes, is not the start of a problem. It is the end stage of one that has been visible to anyone paying attention for a very long time. If there is something in what I have described that sounds familiar, if you are someone who has been in a long relationship and you have found yourself in the long, exhausting season of asking for the same things and not being heard, and I want to say something directly to you. You are not being irrational. You are not being too much. The need to feel seen, to feel chosen, to feel like you matter in the space of your own relationship, these are not unreasonable needs. They are among the most fundamental human needs that exist. And if you find yourself one day going quiet, I want you to understand what that quiet might mean. Not necessarily that you should leave, but that something in you has made a private assessment about what is possible. And that assessment deserves to be taken seriously by you, first of all. The quieter a woman gets, sometimes the louder the things she is not saying. For the men listening to this, and I know some of you are, I want to leave you with this. If the woman beside you has gone quiet, do not assume it means the storm has passed. Ask her directly and without defensiveness what she has stopped telling you. You may not like the answer, but you would rather have it now, while there is still time to do something with it, than learn it the way Claire's husband did on a Sunday morning over a cup of tea after it was already too late to matter. Before I go, I want to say one more thing. If you heard yourself in any of what I said today, if you recognize something of your own life in Claire's story, or in the long years of asking, or in the silence that came after, I am not asking you to make any decisions right now. I am not asking you to have a conversation tonight or to change anything tomorrow. I am asking you to notice where you actually are, not where you are pretending to be for the sake of peace, not where you wish you were, where you actually are. Because the version of yourself who already knows the truth has usually known it for a long time. The only question is whether you are ready to stop managing the knowing and start listening to it. My name is Patricia Hayes. This is Patricia's Porch. I make a new episode here every single week because I believe the conversations we are not having in our daily lives are often the ones that matter most. If something I said today found you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. There is a subscribe button below because I would love to keep being a part of your life. Thank you for being here. I will see you next time.